Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video. For the intro today, I thought I would talk about some things that I did over the weekend that were kind of fun. One of which was on May the 4th, there was a worldwide Tesla light show at San Antonio. We put one on as well, and I did a video with my Cybertrucks. And the videos are available on my YouTube channel. This one here is of my Cybertruck, and I don't have any of the sound right now because most of that is copyrighted information. But if you would like to see the full video of my Cybertruck, go to my YouTube channel. Also, in conjunction with the San Antonio Club, we had a lot of cars out for another one of these light shows. I did the drone flights and the video editing for it, and I think it came out really well. So make sure you check out this video too on my YouTube channel. Also, Ned, one of the members of the San Antonio Club, made this very nice plaque, said Drone Pilot Tesla for me, and gave it to me as a gift, and that really meant a lot to me. Also want to just change subjects and let you know that both part 1 and part 2 of my Boring Company tour videos are about to come out. The first part will be premiering on Tuesday, and then 2 days later, the part 2 will be premiering. Those will also be available on my YouTube channel and follows up my tour that the Boring Company gave me for the Bastrop site. And I had a lot of information that I really wanted to try to put together in a good way, so I hope you will enjoy these two videos. So that's it for the intro today. I didn't get a chance to fly on Friday, so let's get into the drone. Let's fly around and see what is going on here at Giga-Texas after a long weekend.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, it's good to be back in the air after a kind of a miserable day on Friday prevented me to fly. And today is markedly better, although there is still some low clouds and periodic rain that comes through. We're starting off here on the southeast side, taking a look at the work for the River Road extension and the intersection with Robotic Avenue. And definitely looks like there's progress that has been made with grading out this location and preparing for that roadway and the intersection. As we continue to fly to the east of the multi-level parking garage, a good look at that Robotic Avenue extension, the steel corrugated pipes, the concrete median, and the curbs around that median, and the two cranes that are still waiting for either movement off-site or to be used somewhere else. As we come in closer to the multi-level parking garage, we can get a good sense on this east side of that rebar mesh and that one large section remaining for concrete to be poured on the top of the structure, and then that will complete out the rest of the roof area. We do see more of the lighting, a lot of the markings for parking, and work at this northwest corner where the elevator is located, at least the one that comes up to the roof area. As we fly over the east side of Body in White, we can see some of those temporary cooling units on the ground. We're going to go over to the open section on the roof and see where the permanent cooling system is being installed. And most of the work is done underneath the opening and the beams. Most of the coolers and the manifolds are installed. We can also see that the grate material and more of the ventilation ducts have been installed. Crews are working on the center of the screen, preparing what looks like more mounts for these ducting, and that will continue that work moving towards the north. So good progress here. As we come up in altitude and fly towards the southwest corner of the new extension, some of the things that stand out to me are the roof decking on this part of the structure is definitely making progress. There's just a few areas that we can see down inside to the second floor, and some of the other steel work that is going on down in the middle, but we also see the roof decking is proceeding towards that middle section, which used to be all open, but now the steel assembly is filling that up rapidly. We also see more of the insulation packages that have been delivered. This is for 2 layers of insulation. We can see the work of that underway right now with the crews in this middle area. And then the white weatherproof membrane will be glued down on top of this insulation, and then they will finish out the rest of the roof, and it will look much like what we're seeing here in the middle of the screen. The crane are active today, and they're moving more of the steel to continue this assembly of this open middle section. More than halfway completed now, and more of the steel on the ground waiting for its turn to be installed. But this is a good look into what is the remaining open section, the steel assembly where the crane is working right now, the stamping 2 extension, and how that is now starting to be joined with the steel structure. And of course, some of the work that continues on the ground floor, particularly underneath the south structure. There's a concrete wall that one of those almost like bunkers you can see in the middle of the screen, and then some additional concrete work as well. As we continue to fly to the southeast corner of the original building, good view of all the steel that's been erected around these 4 tanks, and that opening for the cranes to be able to get out of that middle section. The structural cooling platform is definitely made progress. Most of the concrete has now been poured on the roof section. You can see the crews are working to level that out right now. And we also see an excavation on the right-hand side of the screen, some trench boxes at the bottom. So this suggests it may be more of the storm water pipe that may be installed, or possibly that kind of that greenish pipe that's going to be installed as well. But a good view with the zoom in of the cooling platform on the left, the new trenching on the right, some of the steel on the ground waiting for its turn to be installed. And as I continue to turn around over the power lines with the zoom still in focus on the cooling structure, it's a good view of how it is looking around on this side. A lot of the red scaffolding is still in place, and that will be there until the concrete is cured enough to be able to remove that scaffolding. A good view across the cooling structure into the south extension and how it is looking today. And not too much longer, maybe another week or two, and most of that steel will be assembled. As I pivot the drone around to take a look up to the northeast, I wanted to show you the continued earthwork around the pond. It does look like it's continuing to expand and shrink that pond, plus more of the trees have been removed, so perhaps we're going to see that pond gone at some point, but it'll be something I'll continue to monitor. Good view of the south end extension and the entire glass now that reaches from one end to the other on the south end. And as we look down on this southeast corner, I'll bring the drone down as well and give you a good view of the roofing materials, the glass on this angled corner, some of the concrete work on the ground floor. And as I continue to bring the drone down, we can see the extent of the glass along the south end of the structure. Also, as I was maneuvering the drone, I noticed that there are several generators that have been placed just outside of the glass on that southeast corner. So most likely providing power for the workers and some of the equipment for the construction. As we continue to fly towards the southwest corner, good view of all that glass that now reaches that angled corner. They're getting ready to wrap around and continue that glass work. And I'm looking forward to seeing that because this will get us close to that atrium and maybe give us a clue what that entrance area may look like. The workshops for the glass crew are at the bottom of the screen. More of the glass has been delivered in these crates. along with some concrete pipe segments, and we're going to see more of that underneath the structure closer to the original building here shortly. I'll zoom back in so a good view of the activity on the ground floor. Some of these sections with the concrete are plainly visible that have been poured on the left-hand side of the screen and also on the right-hand side of the screen. As I come up in altitude, it's a good view of the second floor. Some of the pipe work that has been placed under the ceiling, most likely for the fire suppression system, and we can get a good view of what looks to be a second floor mezzanine level that is not the same altitude or height as the level that's closest to the drone. So that's an interesting development of how this structure is being constructed. As I continue to maneuver around, as I mentioned, you can see the concrete pipe segments next to these concrete walls, and this is the area where it's possible we'll start seeing the boring tunnel moving into this direction in the relatively near future. But good view again of the ground floor, the top floor, and you can see the kind of the mezzanine floors that are being installed as well. The angle for the glass is still waiting for the glass to be arriving at this point of the structure. We see this opening we saw being done on my last video opened up, and it looks like there's some trench work at the base of the wall just underneath that opened section also. There are Cybertrucks that are exiting the factory here. This is the end of line exit for the Cybertrucks from the main factory. What they do here is they get a certain number of the Cybertrucks, then the drivers will get into them, and then they'll take them over to the west side for processing. So I'll bring the drone up in a higher altitude. We'll take a look over to the west side, and I'll reposition and we'll resume the narration on the other side. It's a good view of the West Warehouse on wheels, and as I bring the drone down in altitude, the number of tunnel concrete liners, and it's about half what used to be here. We also see a ramp made out of a metal for the boring tunnel, and it's waiting here for probably future use, maybe in some additional tunneling work that will commence after this process is finished. It's a good view of more of the tunnel segments on the left and some materials. We've got 3 of these blue kind of recycled water containers next to the belt cassette, the silos for the grout, and of course the truck liner that is being prepared for electricity and charging. Now there have been additional belts added to the belt cassette that increases its overall length, and as you can see, the system is operational. The boring tunneling is underway right now. The dirt is coming on those belts and the conveyor system over to this spoils bin, and good view of the activity at this altitude of the tunneling operation that we can see. 2 more of the liner trucks with the liners. Here's a good view of crews next to them for a scale, and a nice close-in view with the belts bringing the dirt out, the ramp going to the beginning of the tunnel, and a little bit of a look inside the tunnel as well. And with the worker walking in, you can get a good sense that the end of the gantries are a long distance away from the entrance of the tunnel now, which gives us some idea that with the belt and the liners about how far the tunnel has progressed. I would think that it's at least halfway underneath the main highway now. We can also see the fan unit and that yellow tube bringing the air into the tunnel for the workers. And my part 1 of my boring company tour will be coming out tomorrow. So we'll have a lot of information that I can pass along in that video that you may find interesting. So let's reposition to the farther southwest just to take a look at the progress here on this clearing that eventually will become a parking lot, possibly another part of an outbound facility. We see all of the corrugated pipes that are lined up on the left, the light bases and all the conduit for what will be lighting through this section. We also see a lot of the center dump trucks that are lined up here waiting to come to this section where additional earthwork is underway. And it's a good view of how this section looks right now as they continue to repurpose this entire section, clear out some of the old brush and trees, and also prepare the grade. And as we look back towards Giga-Texas, it's a good view across the West Material staging yard as well. A lot of these sprung structure tents on the left. We see a lot of the materials here at the bottom of the screen, including more superchargers, some of the old glass from the south end. We see what looks to be light poles on the ground waiting for installation in the near future. More of the ducting that is going to go onto the roof on body in white in that open section. Some more of these tank units, the steel for the south end extension, and some additional building materials in this area. So quite busy on the west staging lot. As we approach the outbound lot, one of the things that is noticeable is that the overall inventory of Cybertrucks is down, although they are distributed throughout the outbound lot, preparing for pickup by the trucks. There are some Model Ys, but I've had some people ask, does this mean that because there's not very many Model Ys, production is reduced? Not really sure if I can say that. It is early Monday morning. Usually they do transportation during the weekends, and I understand that production may have been either reduced or stopped on Friday for various reasons. So that may be one of the reasons why we just don't see very many at this point in time, but we'll need to wait for more of the week to pass before we know for sure. It's a good view of the Cybertrucks lined up here on the north new lot. Again, not as many as we've seen in past videos, but I think that's a great sign that hopefully means more of these are to their new owners, or at least on their way to the new owners very soon. As I continue to fly over this north lot, a couple of things that I want to highlight. First, I'm going to stop here and take a look at these two Cybertrucks. One of them has got a very interesting colored car cover on it. I'm not sure what the rationale is for this, other than maybe the glass is not installed on the roof, perhaps. But it's the first car cover that I've seen of that style here. Also, I wanted to show you the work that is ongoing here in this clearing with the concrete vaults, more of the conduit and trench work that is underway. Plus, we see the systems on the left, possibly air handling systems or maybe pressurized air that has been recently installed. This section, as we are approaching these tents, is where they do some of the final checks of the vehicles before they enter into the outbound lot. And the south supercharger lot is not very full today, not very active, as you can tell. And again, it may just be because of the time of day. Now, they do have those kind of trailers that are restrooms on the left-hand side of the screen that you can see next to the end-of-the-line building. I think that's because the plumbing systems have still not been completed inside the structure. So this allows restroom facilities while that work continues. So as we fly along the east side, just note that there are no Cybertrucks or Model Ys stored on this side as well. We do see more of those temporary restroom facilities, again, because I think the plumbing is not completed yet. And then here on the north side, taking a look across the entire outbound lot and the end-of-line facility, see just a few of the Cybertrucks lined up to enter into the building, and a good view at a higher altitude of the overall side. So let's reposition again. We'll go over back towards the main factory and resume the narration on that side. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can tell that some Model Ys are now exiting the factory, so production is resuming even though it says early Monday morning. We also see here additional work. It's either maintenance or repair work for this underground water system. Looks like a pump truck is in operation here as well. This system has had this kind of work done over the last couple of years. So again, I'm not sure if it's a problem or if it's just routine maintenance. This area with the concrete removed has not had too many changes. I'm still waiting to find out what they're going to do with those green wall panels and that opening. And the red and black item is for that temporary fire suppression system while they're doing work inside. The cans for the 4680s continue to be recycled, and we see more deliveries being made here to the 4680 battery cell portion of the factory. Now, as we round the northwest corner of the factory, let's take a look at the activity on the north end of the 4680 cell production area. More of the ductworks have been delivered, getting ready to be moved inside, as you can tell in the middle right of the screen, and some additional ductwork in the middle of the screen here between the two platforms. We also have noted in the past that one of the two construction elevators has been removed, specifically the one for the taller of the platforms. And we also see some of the items in the trash bins as that work inside continues. As we wrap around the north end of the paint shop and next to these temporary trailers, we see castings have been put out here. The casting racks have been moved away, and also we see the trench work well underway now with the markings on the concrete showing where these trenches are going to go. And with the work, it's also very clear what these trenches are going to appear like. Now, this is for the conduit that's being installed on the north end, coming out of the switch yard and headed this direction. Some of the concrete vaults are very evident as well, and I will show you that conduit work later in the video. As we wrap around to the east side of casting, good view of the work that is continuing to reconfigure the aprons here, plus the receiving doors on the right-hand side of the screen. It looks like crews are getting ready to do some work here. And while we're stopped here, I'll give you a good view of this area with the screw-type piers. It looks like there is trenching for electrical conduit going through the middle section, and also some additional kind of rectangular excavation work with that yellow tape around it as well. Good view from a higher altitude of what that trench work looks like right now. So I'm going to reposition the drone around the power lines, bring us down to a lower altitude, and give you a good view of this east side in full, plus the rack mounts with a lot of the castings, and then some of the castings on the ground is what we've seen over the last several years as well. Next to the towers, this is what that new concrete section looks like. More work on the berm around the towers continues. And this section with these receiving doors, still waiting for the concrete to be installed. As I turn towards the testing and calibration lot, it's a good view over the turbo roundabout and the lot itself. Most of the Cybertrucks continue to be stored here temporarily. It looks like about the same number as I saw in my previous video, so I'm not sure how much of these have actually changed out in the last couple of days. We do see some of them with lights on, so it's possible that they're doing software updates or other kinds of tests with them right now. And I'm going to fly over the lot, give you a good view of the superchargers, which are still being used, and the water sedimentation basin that is full of water because of all the rains that we've had, and a good view of the north side of the multi-level parking garage. As I continue to finish the turnaround, this is a good view again of this lot with all the Cybertrucks, the old testing run at the bottom, and all of the trailers have been removed as well. So as I pull away, I'm going to turn towards the east, give you a good view of this part of the site, the two cranes again waiting for either movement off-site or disassembly or use, and of course the look here of the robotic avenue and the steel corrugated pipe and where the robotic avenue will connect on the left-hand side of the screen. As I fly over the trees, I wanted to give you a good view of a few of the locations on this side of the site of interest. This is the recycling area where they recycle some of the stampings, some of the materials that are used for shipping, and we've also seen some batteries, the structural packs being recycled there as well. Also, this is a good look at these workshops. You You can also tell that there are many very large pipes. These are all steel pipes being welded together and fabricated. That is what the purpose of these workshops is for. And as I pull away, you can see there's a lot more of the pipes that are in the process of being fabricated. And I'm not sure where all of these are going to go, but some of this has been used on the roof section of the main factory. So perhaps we'll see more of this. It's also possible that these pipes may be related to that structural cooling platform on the southeast side, as that's going to need a lot of pipe work for it to be an operation as well. And I'll bring the drone down just a little bit lower here between the workshops so you can get a good sense of the fabrication work, the welding that is underway, and also with the worker, just get a good scale for how large those pipes truly are. As we fly along this section and look at more of the materials on the left and right hand side of the screen, it's just a good view of how the activity is on this side where much of the fabrication work takes place. As we continue to fly towards the battery cathode and die shop complex, more of the trailers, workshops, and just contractor areas are coming into good view here. With all these pipes and this trenching, this is the continuation work for water management that will be just to the south of Tesla Road as it will eventually run through this area. We can get a good sense of the pipes that have already been installed and some of those concrete vaults as well. This also may give us some idea of the overall grade or elevation once that is completed. As we look at the southeast side of the die shop, a good look also into the alleyway on the right, the main entrance, and the parking lot marks, and that new receiving door with the ramp, and also the railings along those retaining walls by the ramp as well. And a good view here of both of the two structures. As we fly along the west side to the north, a good view of the section on the west, still waiting for asphalt to be poured. It looks like most of the grade work has been completed. Here and next to the north side of the die shop, it's a good view of the furnace or the kiln and some of the platforms around this kiln as a 6-foot ladder, so that gives you a good idea of scale. And of course, all the materials that recently have been delivered, some of which looks like have already been moved inside for assembly. And it's a good low altitude view of the chiller plant for the battery cathode structure. And with all of these pipes and pumps and other ducting that you see, this is why we saw the pipe work over on that east side being done, is I think that we're going to see this on that new cooling platform on the southeast side of the building where the extension's being done, and it will look a lot like what this structure appears like now. And another good view as we fly through the alleyway of many of the vaporizers, some of the tanks, and some of the catchment basins that are around the tanks in this side. I'm going to stay at a lower altitude and work my way around the south end of the battery cathode plant, and we'll take a look at the east side here momentarily. If you look at the south side of the open end of the crash test facility, the grates for that underground tank, that pit, have been removed. So perhaps that has just recently been used for some sort of testing. It's kind of hard to tell, but that is a definite change from the last time that I was here. As we continue to maneuver around the crash test facility, a good view of that tank that I just mentioned, the water detention pond and filtration system on the right. And this is also a good view of the west side of the structure. A lot of those Cybertrucks and a few other vehicles parked out here, most likely waiting for crash testing, and then some that have had crash testing are stored on the north end. The Wade pit is almost empty, although the rains are filling it up a little more. The recycle test lab is very busy again, and of course this northeast side, kind of the clearing where some of the materials are stored, and this one workshop as well. Not a lot of changes in the last few days since my previous video. But we'll take a look from the north looking to the south along the structure. Another good view here of the west side as well. And hopefully soon we'll see some of the asphalt added here. So let's fly across the Martin Marietta batch plant and take a look at the conduit work on the south end of the electrical switch yard. On the right-hand side of the screen, next to those two trailers, all of the lids for the underground concrete vaults have been in place. Also, the conduit up to this point has had the dirt filled back in. And then now we see the conduit continuing to be installed, going from those concrete vaults to the south along this section. Some of it's already under the ground. And then here is another large section that's being prepared with a 90-degree turn that will go underneath the power lines and then over to those two new excavations that we see in the center top of the screen. So I'm going to get up over the power lines. I'm going to reposition the drone flying backwards to a little extent so you can get a good sense of where we are located. This is the Megapacks. By the way, the event that I saw in my previous video was Megapack Day. It was for a lot of the vendors and also for some education of various products that Tesla produces. So that was what that event was for. And here we get a good close-in view of more of that trench work. On the top center, you can see where it's going to come from, and then under the ground to this point, another 90-degree turn over to this particular location, and a good view of all of the trench work and the conduit that's being installed. And then it will connect into some of the conduit that's already in place, go underneath Tesla Road, and then connect to that northeast side of the casting machine structure where we saw more of that trench work underway. So that's a pretty good look here on a Monday morning of Giga-Texas and across the site. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you have a great week coming up. Take care.